coronavirus, where appropriate, that we do stand together. Mr Speaker, coronavirus is causing deep and genuine concern across society. We know that up to 80% of the population are at risk of infection. All of us must provide clear, calm and practical leadership in the days, weeks and months ahead. In the past few days, Scotland's First Minister, the Scottish Government and the Westminster Government have been working closely together to put plans in place to protect all of our people. Yesterday, the Governor of the Bank of England suggested a financial bridge may be available to assist markets through any volatility. If there is a financial bridge for markets, can the Prime Minister tell us, will there be a financial bridge for all workers and indeed those that rely on benefits that should not risk the threat of sanction if they can't make appointments?
Well, I thank the right honourable gentleman for the excellent cooperation that Scotland and indeed all the devolved administrations have given in preparing the battle plan. And yes, and really to recapitulate my answer to the right honourable gentleman, we will take every step that we can to ensure that businesses are protected, that the economy remains strong, and that no one, whether employed or self-employed, whatever the status of their employment, is penalised for doing the right thing.
Blackford.
Well, I thank the Prime Minister for that answer, and I commit my party and our government in Scotland to work constructively together. Of course, people are worried about their health, but there are millions of workers who are worried about the consequences for their incomes, their job securities and their families. But I do ask that the Prime Minister gives specific guarantees, and certainly we will work together with the SNP in pushing for emergency legislation, but clarification that all workers will be fully protected from the first day of sickness, and that those payments should be up to the level of the real living wage. And emergency legislation to guarantee that staff that are asked to self-isolate and their businesses are fully supported. That is the leadership that is required, and I ask if the Prime Minister will commit himself to working constructively with all of us to that end.
Well, again, I thank the right honourable gentleman for the spirit in which he raises the question. He will have seen from my earlier answer that what we are indeed doing is advancing the day on a temporary basis, advancing the day by which you are eligible for statutory sick pay from the fourth day to the first day. I think that is the right thing. And again, I repeat, we will support business. We will make sure that we keep the economy strong. No one should be penalised for doing the right thing. And I'm sure that my right honourable friend, the Chancellor, will be happy to engage you with further conversations with him about the detail of how we propose to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Tomorrow is St Piran's Day, when Cornish men and women around the world will be celebrating our national saint and all things Cornish. St Piran is also the patron saint of tin mining, but mining is not just something assigned to Cornish history. Is the Prime Minister aware that significant deposits of lithium have been identified in Cornwall, which provides the opportunity of levelling up the Cornish economy and providing the UK with a domestic supply of this critical mineral? Will the Prime Minister commit his government to enabling Cornwall to make the most of this opportunity and wish all Cornish men and women a happy St Piran's Day?
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. This country, as my honourable friend knows, leads the world in battery technology, and it is a wonderful thing that Cornwall is indeed boasts extensive resources of lithium, and we mean to exploit them. I know that there is no more passionate champion of Cornwall. I wish him a happy St Piran's Day and Kerno Bisvicken, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week's historic judgment against Heathrow expansion found that his government broke the law by ignoring the Paris Climate Agreement and by breaching its own sustainable development duty to future generations when it drafted the airport's national policy statement. Will the Prime Minister tell the House today precisely how many of the government's other national policy statements have been assessed against the Paris Climate Agreement, and will he commit right now to reviewing and, if necessary, revising all of those which have not?
I thank the Right Honourable Lady. She can take it that we will ensure that we abide by the judgment and make sure that we take account of the Paris Convention on climate change. But I do not believe for 1 second that that will be the impediment to our delivery of an infrastructure revolution across this country.
Sean Bailey.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, communities like mine in West Bromwich West are grateful for this government's commitment to 366 police officers for the West Midlands. But would my right honourable friend reaffirm that unlike the Labour PCC, who's decimating communities like mine in Tipton with the closure of our police station, that it's this government who's committed to keep our communities safe through investment in the police and tougher sentences for the criminals that are ruining the lives of my constituents in Tipton?
Thank you very much. And that is precisely why my Right Honourable friend, the Home Secretary, is working so hard to recruit 20,000 more police officers, to enhance stop and search powers, and that's why we've set out plans to build more prisons and keep violent and sexual offenders in prison for longer. Mr Speaker, and I'm delighted that the West Midlands, thanks partly to his lobbying, is receiving another 366 police officers.
I note that in the interests of public safety, the government has taken emergency measures to rush through legislation to ensure that those convicted of terrorist offences serve their full sentences. Given the far smaller conviction rate and far more substantial rate of reoffending for those convicted of sexual offences, will the Prime Minister commit to a wider sentencing review so that communities can rest assured that sex offenders who pose a threat to children and women are serving their full sentences to ensure their rehabilitation?
Well, can I congratulate the Honourable Lady on what she has just said, which I think may have come as a bit of a bombshell to some of her colleagues, but she is entirely, perhaps on the front bench at any rate, she is entirely right, and that is what we are doing, as I said in my earlier answers.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Can I ask my right honourable friend if he commits to making sure that Blythe Valley benefits from the government's ambition to unite and level up across this fantastic country?
I can indeed, Mr Speaker, and I can indeed, Mr Speaker, and that's why we're supporting the Ashington to Blythe to Tyne rail line and the start of our final money.